Hello friends, in this video I'm going to be talking about my psychology as a trader and the different books that I read and experience that I lived to get me to the point to build a foundation that technical analysis, education, and trading experience then built upon to make me a successful trader. So in this video I'm going to be referencing a bunch of books fairly quickly, and at the end of the video I'll go online and show you specifically the ones that I'm talking about and the authors who created them so you can check them out yourself. So my interest in psychology started back in high school, Psychology 101. And everything that I'm going to talk about in this video all preceded being a trader. I was not reading any of this information with the mindset, how can I apply this to trading and markets? But as I review it in hindsight, it's very clearly a foundation of support that technical analysis and trading experience built off of that sped up my learning curve significantly in being able to understand my emotions and control my emotions and prevent them from negatively impacting my trading. So it started in high school with Freud and Carl Jung and learning about such things as the prison Stanford experiment and the placebo effect. And these things really fascinated me. Wow, humans are such emotional creatures, and it's fairly predictable how we can respond to these emotions under certain circumstances. And we can apply that to trading, obviously. I feel that charts is one way of just depicting human emotion. We're seeing fear and greed on the charts and interpreting that information and being able to act accordingly. Because as we know, the last thing we want to be doing is buying in euphoria and selling in fear. So we want to be able to understand those concepts and again understand how the market is reacting, and we don't want to be reacting how the herd is reacting. We want to be one step ahead of the herd. We want to be thinking deeper about our emotions and not reacting to them. So from there, from high school, I went to college and I was a business management major, and my interest in psychology remained as I looked at things like industrial psychology, which is the relationship between managers and workers and compensation and motivation, and those topics fascinated me as well. And I came across a book recently from my old books that was required reading in one of those classes, and it was Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And as I read back on this book and flip through it, I can say, wow, this significantly applies to trading and being a trader. And it's a nice condensed little short book, easy read, and it gives step-by-step guides to be able to understand our emotions and implement little guidelines to help us control them. And I think it's a great book, and not only just this book, but the term emotional intelligence. I did not know that that was a thing. You got IQ over here, and you got emotional IQ. And it's essential for leaders and traders to understand emotional intelligence and become more emotionally aware. So again, we're not susceptible to reacting to our emotions. We're observing them and being able to anticipate certain reactions, and again, not let them negatively impact us throughout our lives. So I certainly suggest checking out Emotional Intelligence 2.0 and studying that concept, emotional intelligence. What does it mean? How can I increase my emotional intelligence? So from there, out of college, I went on a cross-country road trip. Rather than going straight into a career and a 9-to-5, I was exploring, what do I want to do with my life? What is the nature of our reality? What is the nature of our consciousness? And there were a bunch of books that went hand in hand with that. And I was going around into national parks. I was camping by myself, and I did that for about 7 months or so. And I was by myself maybe 23.5 hours of every day on average. And so that allowed for a lot of time of just me and my little voice in here and observing that voice and quieting that voice and interacting with nature. And it was a great platform, a great canvas to be reading a bunch of this content. And lucid dreaming does go hand in hand with everything that I'm talking about in terms of exploring consciousness and the nature of this reality. But I already did a video on it where I talked about books about it. So if you're interested in lucid dreaming, Google TheChartGuys lucid dreaming. That's a whole different rabbit hole to go down. But the books that I'm going to talk about, Be Here Now, The Power of Now, and The Taoism of Pooh, or The Tao of Pooh, are the ones that led to the next steps. So for The Power of Now, really, what I was looking to do is eliminate stress and negativity from my life. And I was looking to lead, I wanted abundance, I wanted positivity, I wanted enjoyment, and I wanted to be content with life and all those things. And it's not that I wasn't content, it was just trying to continue that path and to just strengthen my internal resolve. And again, it wasn't really, I'm not going on this road trip to be mentally tough, but that's essentially how it played out, by being alone so often. So with The Power of Now, it really shifted my perception and concept of time. And realizing, again, we just take it for granted the constructs of society that time just is and money just is, and this is the way that it is. There's 24 hours in a day, when in reality, no, that is made up by the human species to structure around society. But in reality, you know, time is not this linear, just point A to point B, in my opinion, that we sometimes get caught up in. And so I was reflecting on myself and realizing such a significant amount of stress in my life was reflecting on the past, or mistakes, or lamenting, or worrying about the future. What am I going to do for a career? What am I going to do for a job? When I focus on the here and now moment, I'm perfectly fine. I am perfectly content. There's not a problem in the world. So why am I thinking about an event in the future that may or may not happen and letting it negatively impact me in this moment? The future is a now that has yet to happen. The past is a now that has already happened. All there is now, and all there ever is now. It's just different periods that now takes place. So that really helped me shift my mindset, and it helped me reduce stress a good bit in the pondering. What am I going to do? Now, that being said, living in the present moment is key, and that's what we try and do with meditation and calming our minds. But we don't want to, disregard the past and the future, because in the past there are many lessons that we can learn from. And in the future, we want to positively visualize where we want to be in life. And positive visualization is huge for me, and these books come into play with that. And I am a big believer that we create the reality around us with our thoughts. Now, some of you might hear that and think woo-woo. I definitely have some hippie blood in me, but there's a woo-woo way to view that, and there is an analytical, logical way to view that. So I create my reality. The woo-woo way, which I definitely prescribe to a certain degree, is that the actual thoughts and the process of creating the reality that I want in my brain does have rippling impacts on reality around us. I've had way too many coincidences and instances that tell me there's something going on here that science does not understand. So I'm on the woo-woo side to a certain degree, but I'm also on the logical side. So the logical, analytical side is, if I want something to happen in the future, I visualize it, I make a mental checklist, or I make a mental game plan, and I just execute on it. And this video right now, including this sentence that I am saying right now, I had a massage 2 days ago, and this entire video I created while I was getting that massage. Usually I try and calm my mind and I enter, a state of semi-consciousness to enjoy a massage, but in this instance, I was just cranking away and just brainstorming, and this sentence was a part of that. And so what I did was I visualized, I don't make a mental checklist, but I mentally visualize, I'm going to say this thing, I'm going to be standing here when I say it, and now I'm just executing it. So the logical and analytical way is, you lay out the game plan, you execute the game plan, that's the reality that you want. And so there are two different ways to view it, but both are very important to visualize the outcomes that you want. And in my opinion, that has had a very significant impact on my life as a person, a human being, and a trader, where I visualize the outcomes that I want. The crypto space 2017, I visualized my goal, I have, distinct memories of sitting in a hot tub and just, this is going to happen, and it's going to break out, and I'm going to get my goal, and I'm going to be able to get a down payment on a house, and that's what I'm looking to do. And I'm not saying that because I had those thoughts, that's what happened. Maybe to a certain degree, we'll never know. But it, in my opinion, has had a very significant impact in my life, and the book, Be Here Now and The Power of Now, both of those books were significant factors in that mindset. Another thing these books and experiences did was significantly shift the concept of money for me. It's very easy to get into a fearful, stressful, negative, scarcity mindset with money and a feedback loop mentally, or a positive, abundant, and confident relationship with money. So back when I was in high school, the blinders were on, I was not exposed to the real world, and it was just money is the way it is. It's the way it's always been, it's extremely important. And then I got to college and I encountered friends where it was just a bond of what is mine is yours, you can have the shirt off my back, and money is easy come, easy go. And with that mindset, it helped me realize that money is just a creation from humans to structure society, and it's just a means of energy exchange. If I put energy in, I can get money back, and that gave me a lot of confidence. It also helped that I lived a minimalist lifestyle. I did not need much money at all to be very content and happy. So rather than stress about how much money I need, I would have the confidence to say, well, worst case scenario, I'll just do what I did in high school. I'll start a lawn mowing business, and I'll mow lawns, and that'll give me enough money that I need. So the relationship that I had with money started to gain traction as I gained that confidence. Now I want to set the baseline here that it's much easier for people to get to a confident abundance mindset than others. And I grew up in a middle class home, and I was always told I was smart and capable and can do whatever I want. And I realized that people that did not have that building up as part of their nurturing, it's much more difficult to break mental patterns and habits that we have already established, and it requires a lot to rewire our brain to get to that point. But I was fortunate enough to be able to get to that point fairly easily. And when I became a trader, I never wanted to make big money. I just wanted to make enough money. I never wanted a big house. I never wanted a boat. I never wanted to be rich. It was always just, I want to do this to be able to live the life that I want, and I don't need much money to do it. And from my ages of 22 to maybe 27, 3 of those 5 years, I lived rent-free because I was exchanging work trade for some room and board. So my cost of living was dirt cheap. And when we started the Chart Guys, I can remember saying to Jason, my goal is $400 a month to cover my cost of living. That's all I'm looking for, and that will make me happy with putting the time and effort in to try and create this business. So the concept and the relationship that we have with money is extremely important. And again, these books helped me see through the illusion, in my opinion, that we have surrounding money that can lead to that negative scarcity mindset that creates a bunch of stress in our life. So another book, The Tao of Pooh. So I had no idea what Taoism was, and I'm reading this book, and point after point is just really hitting home with me and aligning with my lifestyle and my beliefs. So Taoism is this ancient Chinese philosophy, and the book did a really good job of conceptualizing and putting into concrete words some really abstract concepts that I had. And so it helped me realize I have a ton of overlap with my beliefs and with Taoism, and it helps me understand what those beliefs were more concretely. There's also another book called Tribes, and I read it back in college, had no intention of starting a company in a community that you are all a part of now just by watching this video. And looking back on it in hindsight, it played a huge role in establishing the community and the leadership and things of that nature. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship and if you're interested in starting a community, I would highly suggest checking that book out. So in addition to all these books, some experiences that set the stage for me psychologically as well were playing poker. Back in early high school, 15, 16 years old, the poker boom happened, ESPN, Texas Hold'em, and we got in on that and played with our friends, and I got used to making and losing money and the emotional ways that I would feel. I can remember bluffing and my heart pounding in my chest. I can remember feeling sick about losing money. I can remember feeling euphoria about making money. 16 years ago, I was in a hand on an online platform, I forget which one, maybe PokerStars, but I can remember every single detail about the hand and losing $100 because that was everything in my account. $100 was a big deal back then in high school, and I went all in with pocket aces pre-market, and I think my probability to win, I forget what it is at this point, but 85% chance that I'm gonna win, and I lost. So I learned, doesn't matter if you have a high probability setup, you can still lose. And I learned what that sickening losing feeling feels like. So poker absolutely played a major part in managing emotions and experiencing them long before I ever got to trading. I didn't take a trade until probably 4 or 5 years after I took my first big win and big loss in poker. In addition to that, penny stocks. When I first started trading, I didn't know what technical analysis was, and I was in the penny stock world, and I was an investigative reporter doing research, due diligence. I wanted to know, what did the CEO do in his last 2 companies? Who's the CFO associated with? I dug in, and I very quickly realized over the first couple years, these are all scams. These companies are all scams. I can still make money off them because they pop on news and they are subject to sector hype, but none of them are real. None of this is real. And so I took that mindset and applied it to all markets. So when I'm trading something, again, numbers on a screen, video game, I'm trying to accrue points. And none of it's real. If I'm trading Apple, I'm not thinking about Apple's assets. I'm not thinking about how many store locations they have. It doesn't exist. They're numbers flashing on a screen. It can go down to unreasonably low levels. It can go up to unreasonably high levels. So that mindset of all just being flashing numbers and a game coming from the penny stock world and applying it to just everything, in my opinion, did a good job of having me lock in gains in euphoria. You know, I'm not looking at something and saying, well, in 10 years, we're gonna have this much of an asset increase on the balance sheet. It doesn't matter to me. So that helped me a lot with keeping gains when I had them and not giving them back. Also had a major experience in penny stocks where I fell in love with a company and the fundamental story. and I turned $7,000 into $42,000, and that was a ton of money. That's 3 years of living for me back in those days, and I gave it all back. And so I learned, do not fall in love with the company. It's not real. And I apply that to all of my trading these days. And in my opinion, I think that benefits me as a trader to keep that distinctly different mindset. So let's go over some of our resources here to wrap it up. We've got Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradberry, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Be Here Now by Ram Dass, The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff, Tribes by Seth Godin. This is the one with the chart guys, entrepreneurial mindset. This is the video Intro to Lucid Dreaming on our YouTube channel to check out. And to be continued, at some point we'll go over the benefits of psilocybin and the impacts it has had on me as a trader. I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, give it a like and a subscribe and a share and all that fun stuff. And we'll see you soon. Have a good rest of your day. It helped lay the groundwork for psychological